Good morning.
Good morning.
Today is Sunday, March 6th, 2022. I'm Tommy Lowe, and I am an officer on the Board of Trustees. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Arlington. We have a wonderful service planned for you today, and we hope that you'll be able to join us for the virtual coffee hour after the service. It is a beautiful day to be at UUCA. But what is this place we call UUCA? What is this building? And what is this beautiful room that connects us with nature and with ourselves? What do you call a place where you can come and just be yourself? What do you call a place that is filled with people who love you and care about you? What do you call a place where you can find joy and laughter, as well as comfort when times are tough? I like to think we call it home. In fact, my wife and I, that's exactly what we call this place. We call it our second home. And what do you find inside your home? Your family, of course. You all are my family. You're my brothers and sisters, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews. And of course, no home is complete without a matriarch. A matriarch who looks after you, who cares for you, and makes you feel like the most important person in the world when she's talking to you. We have a great home here at UUCA. We have a great house, we have a great family, and we have a great matriarch. Welcome home, everyone.
Thank you so much, Tommy, for that welcome. And thank you, Jean, for the music this morning, and Sophia during our prelude. We have a special guest musician with us, our own John Tynan, who will share some familiar hymns today, and also a piece that he wrote in response to and inspired by our monthly theme. Always love hearing what you are holding in your hearts as we explore the theme together. Our call to worship this morning comes from George Beecham, who was a leader in the ethical culture movement in Washington, D.C. in the early 20th century. These are words that have helped me in difficult times. The most necessary of all faiths is a faith in people. Faith that each individual can select their own aims better than any other person can select for them. Not faith that people will be wise, for people are often foolish, but faith that people at their best are capable of wisdom and that they can be taught to be wiser than they are. Not faith that people will be good, for people are sometimes wicked, but faith that people can be inspired to greater goodness and compassion. Not faith that people will always be strong and brave, for the best of people are often weak, but faith that people are capable of strength. And through faith in the potentialities of people comes multiplied strength and genuine firmness. Not faith that people are wise or good or brave or strong, but that they are capable of becoming wise enough and good enough, brave enough and strong enough to make a habitable and enjoyable world together. These days, it can be difficult to believe in a habitable and enjoyable world for everyone, in a world of peace. And yet we are called still to hold that faith and that hope. Today, as we did last week, before we light our chalice, we light a candle for peace, for hope, We're going to keep on lighting, folks, until we get it. This is the faith part that comes in. Send a little energy my way, will you? Here we are. Sometimes it takes a while, and yet we light for peace and hope and for our faith in the possibility.
I invite you to join me in lighting our chalice. Words of unison reading are in your order of service. We gather together as a community of memory and hope to celebrate life and its infinite possibilities for love. We light this chalice as a symbol of the light within every human heart. May our individual sparks meet and merge, bringing both light and warmth to our world.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of a sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Thank you for bringing us in, our hearts, our bodies, settling into this holy place, to this home that we have here. And today we have an opportunity for something special, for a rededication of Diane Julius's role as our commissioned lay minister here at UUCA. Yes. Oh, you can, that's good. You can cheer later, but you can do that now too. It has been said that it takes a village to raise a child. Here at UUCA, it takes a ministerial team to provide the care that our people need. And Diane is such a vital part of that team. She has faithfully served our congregation for many years, the last 3 in the specific role of commissioned lay minister. This role is recommissioned every 3 years. It's a position created through the Unitarian Universalist Association, but held particularly in covenant between this congregation and Diane. And this recommissioning is a moment for the CLM and the congregation to affirm, and again, that they want to continue their special relationship. That the ministry that Diane offers here is a ministry we need at UUCA. We are just past 3 years since the original commissioning because Diane took some time away this fall as she and Rhonda prepared for their move. It is so good to have Diane back, serving in this role on our ministry team and as part of our staff team. So today, in this moment, we acknowledge 2 things. First, Diane's continuing in the position of commissioned lay minister, providing hands-on empathic pastoral care to our community.
And second, we lift up her ongoing dedication, especially her beautiful, deep commitment to UUCA's elders, both those who live at Goodwin House and those who live nearby. Diane is a helper. She is one of the people our community can look to when in need. She carries the potential to boost our spirits and offer hope during these scary and uncertain times.
Diane, will you come forward just a little bit on the chancel? Get a little closer to your people. There we go. I love it. Thank you so much, Diane. Diane has an agreement and covenantal relationship with Rev CTC and me, with the board represented today by Gail, and with all of you, with the congregation. And so I want to invite the congregation to rise in body or in spirit and to join David, who will lead you in speaking the covenantal words found in your order of service. If you are joining us online, click the link in the chat to get the order of service up so you can follow along with us, or simply hold in your heart as we share words of covenant. You all spoke these words more than 3 years ago when you first affirmed Diane as your commissioned lay minister. And so in this reaffirmation, we repeat them.
We, the members of UUCA, express our commissioned lay minister our gratitude for your investment in our community, our trust in your integrity and wisdom, our support for your leadership, and our enduring loyalty to the mission and vision of this church. We pledge to do what is within our power to make your stewardship of our shared future an experience of discovery, accomplishment, and growth. Together, may we make this community a beacon of reason, compassion, and freedom, and a witness to the power of love and aspiration to make a better world.
Will you pass the microphone to Diane? Diane, do you need the lectern? Or you're fine, right?
I stand here today ready to answer the call to continue my service as a commissioned lay minister for UUCA. I will strive to bring the best of myself to the congregation, to the ministry staff and the rest of the staff, and to the members and friends of this beloved community. My desire is to continue learning with you, caring for those who are most in need, and walking always at your side as we continue in this journey through life.
May it be so. This would be a good time to cheer as well. Rev CTC was so sorry she could not be here this weekend, and she gave me clear instructions that there should be gifts, which of course I agree with, and Diane has thoughtfully and not surprisingly dressed to match these gifts. Not a total coincidence. And so, Diane, thank you. I have in this little bag, Diane will pretend to be surprised, though she received these at 9:15 as well. Oh my gosh, look! Because Diane is such a faithful companion, a diary of days, but because Diane is not just a helper but also a radical, this diary of days lists radical events through history and around the world, and conveniently matches all of Diane's outfits. And then, because I know that Diane and Rhonda have been de-accessing, I could not get something large, but I did find a tiny magnet which shares a quote from Maya Angelou: "Be a rainbow in someone else's cloud," which surely is what Diane is for so many of us. So Diane, here is your tiny little print. Just a magnet. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
It is good, friends, in times of trouble to have ceremonies that remind us, rituals that remind us of our connection to each other and of the presence of joy and love in the world. I invite you now into a time of prayer or meditation. Close your eyes if you would like, or soften your gaze. Start with a breath. Bring yourself here, now. Bring all of who you are. The broken parts, the joyful parts, the angry parts or the worried parts. They are welcome. I invite you in this moment to speak aloud or in your heart the names of those you carry this morning. People or places you are holding close. Spirit of life and love, God of many names and beyond our naming, we bring our full hearts to this sanctuary, to this home. We bring the names of all we carry, all those we love. We bring our hopes for peace, We bring our fear. We bring ourselves. May we find here a reminder that the Spirit of life wraps around us always, telling us we are not alone, that we are a family here in this moment and around the world. May we make it so. Amen.
Our wisdom lesson this morning comes in 3 short readings. The first by Mary Jean Urian. Sometimes I wondered if I had any faith. So I sat down and thought about it. And when I'd had enough of that, I got up and went on my way. And that, the getting up and going, that was faith. Our second reading is by Reverend Susan Manker Seal, titled, "Do Not Despair." Faith does not mean believing in God. Faith is having trust in your sense of the rightness of the universe. Faith is having trust in your sense of the rightness of the universe. Hope is clinging to that truth in the direst of circumstances. And love is deciding to care for this world no matter what horrors come our way. But thus we keep despair at bay, and when we add a daily dose of laughter, we're on the road to healing. Our third reading is by A. Powell Davies. Reverend Davies was the minister at All Souls Unitarian Church in the district in 1940s and the 50s. And he was instrumental in the founding of our church in 1948. Such that I think of Reverend Davies as our founding godfather. There is no mystery greater than our own mystery. There is no mystery greater than our own mystery. We are to ourselves unknown. And yet we do know. We do know that the thought that we cannot quite think is nevertheless a thought. And it lives in us. It lives in us without our being able to think it. We are a mystery, but we are a living mystery. The most alive thing about us is what we are, The most alive thing about us is what we are when thought breaks off and our mind can go no further. For that is where our yearning begins, our inconsolable yearning, and the loneliness that begets compassion, and the forlornness that prepares the heart for love. May we hold and ponder these readings in our heart.
Thank you so much, David. David brought those readings to me as we started talking about this sermon. I feel today is a beautiful celebration of the gifts of members and all that you bring to our congregation. The worship associate team and I get together every month and talk about the services ahead. We do a little planning, and in particular, we think about the monthly themes that are coming up and how we might want to explore them in community. And so it was a couple of months ago as we gathered to talk about the theme for March, which was renewing faith. Now, this was a Unitarian Universalist Worship Associates meeting, and so as you can perhaps imagine, if you've been around for a little while, at least one person, when we brought up this theme, said, "Oh, faith? Well, I don't like the word is a little, and it's kind of itchy. It's not my favorite, and Sometimes I talk about words like this as allergies, right? Things that give us speed bumps, keep us from moving forward. We get stuck on a word that perhaps had a meaning that no longer holds for us, or perhaps came out of some experience of trauma in our past. And now I sometimes say that there are a couple of ways to treat allergies. Maybe you've heard me say it before. One of them, sometimes the allergy is so bad that indeed we need to stay away completely from that allergen. It has the potential to harm us. But the other way that doctors treat allergies is to give you just a little bit over time, just a tiny bit of peanut butter, little by little by little, until you build up a tolerance. Until you find a different way of being with the peanut butter, or maybe with the word. This is a sermon about faith, about believing, and what that can mean in a Unitarian Universalist congregation, maybe even particularly to the humanists among us. A congregation where data and facts and even the scientific method may be invoked as frequently as the Bible. What can belief mean to us? Perhaps you, like me, have strong memories of the first inauguration of Barack Obama as president. It was a historic moment in our country, and at the time I was serving the Washington Ethical Society, and we gathered together in community and invited the neighbors to come and witness the inauguration. So we gathered in what we would call the sanctuary, they called the main hall, and had the inauguration up on the big screen, this moment in history witnessed by us together. Maybe you also remember Obama's first inauguration speech, in which, as he addressed Americans, he talked about Christians and Jews and Muslims in America, and for the very first time in a presidential inauguration speech, or maybe a presidential speech of any kind, the non-believers. Well, I will tell you that made a big impression at the Washington Ethical Society. That congregation was a humanist congregation explicitly focused on non-theism. And you should have heard the ripple through the crowd. Non-believers, he said, us. He knows we're here. It was a moment, and yet, in retrospect, I thought to myself, I don't know if I want to be a non-anything, a non-believer. What does that mean, that I have belief in absolutely nothing? In fact, the phrase non-believer, by its very definition, constricts belief to something narrow, a particular kind of maybe Judeo-Christian values-centered theism. I'm not even sure that all believers would say that that's what they believe. But of course, for some folks in that room, and perhaps for some of us in this room today, the shout out was exciting. Here we are, the spiritual but not religious, the nuns, the non-believers. What does it mean in a community like this one, like that one? What does it mean to us to have faith? In Unitarian Universalism, we talk about the inherent worth and dignity of every person. It is one of our core principles. I actually think that belief, that affirmation, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, that can be a pretty huge leap of faith. It's not a faith that everyone is good, as in our call to worship this morning. Perhaps it is more a faith in the possibility of people becoming good enough. William Ellery Channing, who's sometimes called the founder of American Unitarianism in the 19th century, talked about the possibility of every person to grow in likeness to God. That we were born as a blank slate, able to do good or evil, but that every one of us might choose good, might grow ever better. I have found in my own understanding of the inherent worth of every person and what that really means as a faith statement, as a leap of faith, I have found help with that from the ethical culture movement, which also holds it as a core principle. Felix Adler, the founder of that movement, wrote at length about the fact that he didn't actually see worth in every person. He has some eloquent writing in which he talks about all of the poor choices people make and the ways that they hurt each other, and then also personalities he didn't really get along with. And he talks about how sometimes it is hard to see the worth in every person. What he did, though, was attribute it. I do not find worth in others or in myself, he wrote. I attribute it to them and to myself. In other words, he believed it could be there and acted as though it was. Now that seems like a leap of faith I might be able to take. To believe in the possibility, the divine spark, the flame of beauty and humanity in every person, even when I cannot see it there at all. To pretend, if I have to, that it must be there, to attribute it. Augustine wrote that faith is to believe what you do not see. The reward of this faith is to see what you believe. And of course, that's right, isn't it? When we take that leap of faith, we Unitarian Universalists, when we attribute inherent worth to every single person, when we believe it, we can begin to see it. Sometimes that faith is the most difficult faith of all. whether we are connecting and seeking to find worth in someone whose values are different than our own, or the person across the dinner table with whom we are enmeshed in fight. Believing in the worth of every person, taking that leap of faith, like so many aspects of faith, like prayer, changes not the other person but ourselves, our own hearts. But what then about the world around us? How do we hold faith not just in another person's worth, but in the rightness of the universe? This is a hard time to feel the rightness of the universe. It feels perhaps like an impossible time. These days, we are awash in images of war in Ukraine and in other places around the world where violence occurs. For me, it is not the images of war which are on a scale I can't quite imagine, but rather the images of human responses, the pictures of people huddled together in subway stations, the baby carriages Polish women have lined up at the train station so that Ukrainian mothers fleeing have a place to put their babies. Our hearts, our human hearts, were not made to hold that much pain, to know the pain of people all the way around the world, across the globe, to see the images and hold them as they come toward us. There is a legitimate criticism, I think, of liberal religion and liberal theology that we have sometimes an insufficient understanding of evil. That criticism came to the front really after World War II, when the neo-orthodoxy within Christianity said, you know, if you look at this liberal religious idea of growing ever toward goodness, the progress onward of humanity doesn't seem to be playing out that way, does it? And so our tradition, like many others, sought to understand more deeply the fullness of the human experience, our capacity for evil as well as for good, to open our hearts just a little more, to allow them to break. And yet, any religious tradition needs to help us hold not just the horrors of the world, not just the tragedy, but also the possibility of hope, the faith in the future. There are two quotes that speak to me about this kind of belief, this kind of faith. One from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, and one that he quoted. You might be familiar with that quoted one because he surely made it famous. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. King was quoting Theodore Parker, a 19th century Unitarian minister and abolitionist. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. I don't always see that in the world. Sometimes it feels as though the arc of the universe is bending in another way. And yet, just like the inherent worth in every person, I live my life as though it were true. I look for the ways we can reach up with our hands and bend it ourselves. There is another quote from Dr. King that I find helpful. Faith, he said, is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. I find it comforting somehow to think that this great man, this great organizer who led a movement, a people, a country in the face of incredible opposition, that he too didn't always see the whole staircase. Maybe, like me, he sometimes struggled with the belief that the moral arc bends toward justice. And yet he knew that the response that we can offer, the faithful response, is to take the next step, to move forward the next way, to sing the next song or fight the next fight. How we hold that faith in times of great trouble. Well, I want to tell you a story. I may have told it before. If so, you'll have to be polite and pretend I didn't. I'll probably tell you again because it's a story I tell myself over and over again. It happened about 10 years ago, maybe more now, at a time when marriage equality was not legal in Virginia. I was invited to, in fact, it wasn't legal in the District of Columbia either at the time where I was serving. I was invited to go with a friend, a colleague, to a rally where people were coming together in Fairfax County, and she and her partner were going to request a license to get married at the county courthouse. Maybe you went to rallies like that too. This congregation, I know, was deeply involved in marriage equality work in Virginia and around the country. Well, off we went. You know, we knew, of course, that the license would not be given. It was a statement, a moment, a way to witness the injustice at that time. And so off she went with her partner of more than 20 years to the courthouse. They walked in with their minister up these tall, imposing stairs, and the rest of us, several dozen people, gathered there waiting. My job at this rally was to greet them as they came back out of the courthouse. And I'm sure I had some words written that I planned to say, but as they came down the courthouse steps, with the no that we all knew they were going to get, that's why we were having a rally, the heartbreak of the moment, even though expected, felt so present to me. And I suddenly could not figure out what I was supposed to say to this group of people gathered around in this moment. What could I say to my friend and her partner, both of them veterans having served this country and unable to legally marry? What could I say to the people gathered there waiting to mark the moment, to mourn, to work for something better? So the best thing when you don't know what to say is to sing. And that is what we did that day. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. We're gonna keep on till we find it. There is more love somewhere. We sang and we sang as they came back and were surrounded by their friends and family. And by the end of our verses, we were singing not that there was more love somewhere, but that there was more love right here, in that moment. We believed Even though at the time we thought it would be many more years until justice came for that couple, we thought it would be many more years until everyone was able to marry the person that they loved, be safe with health benefits and the possibility of visiting in the hospital as next of kin, all of the things that we know are so deeply important. We thought it would be many years before justice came, and yet in that moment, we sang our faith into existence. This story has, of course, a happy ending. It wasn't so many years before that couple was able to marry legally in the District of Columbia, and then a short while later to have that marriage recognized in their home state of Virginia and around the country. And any happy story is always incomplete. There is still work to be done to protect those rights, to make sure that everyone is able to live with love and justice and equity and safety in this state and in our country and in the world. And so sometimes it is hard to believe, to have faith. I hope that we keep singing our faith into existence, even when we cannot see it, so that through our belief, it may yet come to be seen. May it be so.
Be ours a religion with like sunshine goes everywhere, its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love.
By our offering this morning, we honor and lift up our UUCA youth in their quest to be of service to our hurting world. We will share our offering with our Youth Social Justice Fund, giving our young people the cash they will need to travel and serve, indeed to immerse themselves in the lived experience of diverse people living on the edge. Previous youth service projects have included working with elders on the Hopi and Navajo reservations in Arizona, supporting families affected by mining in West Virginia, and helping to rebuild homes devastated by Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. Many of our youth name their service trips and projects as the most transformational of their faith development experiences. More than a functional contribution, our donations are indeed an investment in our youth as they live their UU values and faith and share the fruit of their faith with others. There are many ways to give, as you will see on our church website and in your order of service. But now that we're back together, don't forget that we can use paper. We can fill our gift baskets with cash and checks. As you're making your donations, please remember that 70% of our offering goes directly to our Youth Social Justice Fund, and 30% goes to the ongoing, continuing mission work of our church. I invite you to join me in giving generously to this worthy cause.
In the time, in the time before the plague, I know you remember those days. We had purpose, we had our familiar ways. We had our hopes, we had our vision to create. But the global pandemic came, and we did all we could to be safe. And our president stoked so much fear and hate, and shook the foundations of our democratic state. Let's begin again. Let's make a better day. We still know the place that we wanted to make. We still know the acts that we still need to take. Let's begin again. Let's make a better day. We still know the acts that we still need to take. We still know the place that we wanted to make. Let's renew our faith. Let's re-examine our ways. Let's focus our efforts today towards acts of loving service and play. Let's begin again. Let's make a better day. We still know the place that we wanted to make. We still know the acts that we still need to take. Let's begin again. Let's make a better day. We still know the acts that we still need to take. We still know the place that we wanted to make. Let's renew our faith.
Ushers, please come forward. I invite you to join me in our affirmation of gratitude and giving. Words are unison reading are printed in your order of service. We bless and receive these gifts, opening our hearts to true generosity. Let us be grateful when we give, be it time, talent, or treasure, for giving brings us joy. Let us be grateful for our needs and the experience of vulnerability, for they teach us how to receive in community and love. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts to nurture this congregation, for it is a blessing to make a difference together. Thank you.
It is a blessing, too, to have another amazing member and lay leader to come and share with us today. Denise Kapler is going to give us an update on our capital campaign and how we are moving toward our future. Denise, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning. It's so nice to be here in person with all of you. I bring an update on behalf of McGinnis Williams, who's my co-chair, and our steering committee. And I want to first start by thanking all of you for your support and your patience. I am very excited to be here with an almost final update with regard to our capital campaign. Despite so many challenges and roadblocks over the past couple of years, we have successfully raised the money to help us achieve the goals that we outlined at the beginning of our campaign. If you recall, we said we wanted to reconnect with our congregation, pay off the mortgage, and restore the endowment. And despite some starts and stops, we have, over the past several years, had more than 200 one-on-one meetings with members and friends of our congregation where we've had a chance to talk about how important UUC is to us and the support and joy that we get from this community. I'm really excited to share today that having, as you've heard from me say before, paid down our mortgage from $3 million down to $1.8 million already, that now we have received sufficient pledges to fully pay off the mortgage, and it's now just a question of when. So thank you all so much. So we now have on hand more than $1.2 million ready for that next major payment, and that will happen in April. And so the update that I want to share today is to say that now is the time, if you are considering maybe accelerating a payment on a pledge that you've made, making an additional gift, or making a first-time gift, any money that we receive during March towards the capital campaign will go to that final payment next month. McGinnis and I will be sending out an email to the congregation with all of this information, and I want to just share with you all how much we deeply appreciate the volunteers, the visitors, the congregants who've participated in this campaign. We're so proud of what we've achieved as a community, and we are really looking forward to celebrating this milestone together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Denise. There is a phrase in the New Testament where a woman says to Jesus, "I believe, help my unbelief." I believe, help my unbelief. Sometimes it is hard to believe. Sometimes our faith in humanity or in the arc of the universe falters. The generosity of this congregation helps me to believe. The care of our commissioned lay minister helps me to believe. Our children returning to their Sunday school classes helps me to believe. The smiles behind your masks helps me to believe. Our prayers for peace help me to believe. this congregation, this community, we help each other to believe. You are why I say I am a believer. Hit it.